When I look around here today, I don't see hate or fear or anger. Hatred, fear and anger is the currency of this corrupt government and their NGO minions. They deal with that, so that's all they can see, that's all they know, that's their currency. It's how they see the world around them. Where they choose violence and intimidation, we have chosen the path of free speech, and they are trying to take that away from us. I look around me, I don't see hate. I see determination. I see resilience, and I see a desire for freedom. In autocracies, they use political repression to prevent anti-regime support and mobilization, and that's what they're doing to us. We see this in China, where there's tight control on the flow of information. North Korea, where certain phrases critical of the regime or supportive of capitalism have been eliminated from written and spoken language. And have even gone so far as to ban sarcasm. On the 13th of April, 20 young North Korean ice skaters were sentenced to 3 to 5 years hard labour for using capitalist phrases. The evidence was found on a phone during a routine inspection raid by police. You can only imagine the excitement at Fine Gael HQ at the thought of routine inspection raids for hate speech. Free speech is universal. Hate speech is a matter of opinion and timing. Where incitement to hatred and violence, as we so often see from the so-called militant left groups in Ireland, is abhorrent and should be challenged at every opportunity. There should be no restrictions on the type of speech that some people might merely find offensive. The bigger the chip on their shoulder, the bigger the offence, it seems. Their victim cards are due to expire shortly. The sinister nature of the anti-free speech law is further exacerbated when you look at the weak-minded fools who have brought it into being. Never in our history have we seen such weak leadership and cowardice dangling from EU and WEF puppet strings. Maybe it's time for the honest, hard-working people of Ireland to dip their hands into the greasy world of politics and drag from it a dream that was Ireland, and hold it up from an example of what a nation can be if they only stood up against tyranny, greed and oppression. When did words become weapons? When did we as a species become so weak and easily offended? How do we get to a point in our history again where Irish men and women could be imprisoned for having an opinion? How did we get to the stage where mentally ill became a protected characteristic? You only have to follow the slimy path of the gravy train and you won't be long in discovering your answer. And an NGO is profiteering from scaremongering that's going on. Lekela, Ireland for All, and other parasites on our nation.
Yay! Yay!
These idiots against Ireland who would dare to measure us with their standards, they themselves fall short in every moral standard there is. The online bullying and harassment that they freely engage with is state-funded and endorsed, and they have the nerve to call us fascists. We are living through one of the most one-sided media-biased era in our short history as a nation. RTE are banned from showing migration in a negative light, and all government-funded advertising must show multiculturalism.
Yeah, see that.
In March, on the recommendation of the Future Media Commission, the National Counter-Disinformation Strategy Working Group was established. How long before we see the Ministry of Truth operatives knocking on people's doors, arresting people for thought crime? As Orwell said, if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear.
Yes. Yes.
Ireland as a nation is barely being held together by an invisible force, and that is our desire for freedom and our ability to express ourselves freely. We are all that stands between freedom and abject slavery to oppression and greed.
What are you going to do? Are you going to stand up? Are you going to take down the surveillance grid? Are you going to allow yourself to be
Keeps all the
To our government I say this, and I hope you like a bit of party. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in a pub on the other side of the country. Yet you waste our time and threaten our freedom with this bullshit law. How dare you?
Is it him? The lads are there. It's Bedford, isn't it?
It's time for the ordinary Irish people with common sense to start replacing the political class at all levels. Stand with us and see it happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, a man you all know very well over the last number of months, having organised all around the country and especially in the East Wall, to protest against the colonisation, the new plantation of Ireland, is Solicitor Malachi Steenson, who is here as an independent guest speaking. Give him a big full applause to Malachi Steenson.
Can you hear me? Yes. The first thing I want to do is to give a big shout out to those who last night took part in the Battle of Pearse Street. They sent a very clear message to the political and NGO class in this country that the working class have risen. We will no longer be dictated to by those who wander down from Trinity College with their degrees and tell us what to do and how to think. Many of the other speakers have dealt with the legalities of this legislation. The right to free speech is not about my right to say what I want and debate things that I want to debate. It's about debating things that I don't want to debate. That's the bit that they miss. This legislation, while on one hand it's targeted at people like those who spoke here today, it's also targeted at ordinary people to stop them thinking, to keep them in their box and not to stand up against any government policy. We saw in the recent past the operation of Section 31, which denied Republicans access to the airwaves right through the 70s and the 80s. And we saw with that legislation that the state broadcasters and the media went far beyond what the legislation done or said. They refused to discuss any issue with Republicans. The reason they're bringing in this legislation is not alone because of the European directive. It's because when we stood up in East Wall last November, that gave rise to people coming out and standing up against the inward migration and the takeover of this country. They are afraid that people are seeing what's going on. Right through every part of this country, people have stood up. We want the right to say and think what we want, whether we're right or wrong. We have the right as a free people to have a free mind, to be educated and to understand in our own way what is happening in this country. We have the right to make our own minds up. We have the right not to be dictated to by the thousands of NGOs who make a fortune in this country from the taxpayer. We have the right not to be dictated to by the political class. We had Leo Varadkar says a number of years ago he would be opposed to restrictions on free speech. As he brings in legislation now, the most draconian in Europe, to limit and stop free speech.
Leo!
The same man a number of years ago said that he would be very reluctant to limit the right to public protest, as he now brings in legislation to stop protests at a never-increasing number of places. In all of those lists, he hasn't included the Dáil, and people tell us we should be marching on the Dáil. If the Dáil was a place
where any decisions were made or where we could have any influence by marching outside it, then that place would be on the list. We have a political class in this country who don't know what to think. They're coming out with degrees in politics, degrees in economics. They tell you 2 and 2 is 6. So much for our economics. We are here because we have risen. And the Irish people will no longer stand back or sit down or stay in their houses, as many of them did for the past couple of years. And have no doubt that the whole COVID thing was about seeing how much compliance they would get from the population. Yes. And it's sad to say that in a country that claims to have fought for its freedom for many years, fought against the penal laws, fought against the famine, fought against every attempt to colonise us in the past, that people just lay down and said, how long more, sure, will I stay in my house? Can I see me granny through the window in our nursing home? And people went with it. You know, it says something about the state of mind of people in this country. And it's up to us here today to get out there and convince our friends and our families that we're not the mad people. We're not the conspiracy theorists. They are the people who are bringing in this legislation. They are the ones who want to restrict our right to protest. They are the ones who want to restrict our right to think. And there will be nobody will stop me thinking and saying what I want. And I'm sure I speak for everyone here today. It's our job to educate our children so that they become rounded individuals, so they know right from wrong. And again, I mention the penal laws. Are we now to go back into at times when priests were hidden cubby holes beside fireplaces in big houses? Are we to go around with our heads bent, hiding on the state, hiding when we're afraid to speak out? We must bring this message to every politician and aspiring politician in this country, that we will not stand for it, that we will defend our right to speak, that we will defend the right of every man, woman and child in this country to have an opinion which differs from that of the state or of the EU or of America. Whether that position is one on the current movement to World War III, whether it's on transgender, whether it's on migration or immigration, whether it's on housing or any of the other issues that affect this society. We have risen and we won't be going back into our box. And every time we come out there is an increase in numbers. The increase may be small, but it is growing. And we need to make this summer a summer of discontent for the political class. They need to realise that we are here, and we are here to stay. They can bring in whatever legislation they want.
But they won't shut us up.
Yes! They won't tell us what to do or what to say or where to go. That day is gone. Our day is here now. Thank you very much, Malachi. On that regard, there is another rally being held next Saturday. It's International Worldwide Freedom Rally, and that is beginning at the Garden of Remembrance at 11:45. So you might want to attend that as well. I think it's very timely. I think we need to keep the pressure up on the government. I will be passing around shortly with a bucket. And as you know, we need a new generator, or we need a new speaker, because there seems to be a bit of a problem here. So if you could contribute anything that you feel necessary, that would be great. Our next speaker is Katrina O'Donoghue, who is an IFP member and candidate for Westmeath. Thank you very much.
Well, they don't know the brought them in the fucking town.
Hello, can you hear me? Yay! Okay, it's a bit tough following Malachi, but I'll give it my best shot. We're not supposed to agree on everything. We are individuals. We are not a collective, and therefore we all have different views. That's why in our Constitution, Bunach na Éireann, Article 40.6.1 states the right of the citizen to express freely their convictions and opinions. Men and women died for our freedoms. Now, let me ask you some questions. To all the women, do you want freedom of speech? Yeah! To all the men, do you want freedom of speech? Yeah! Yes, me too. But what about the voiceless people in Ireland? Our children, our homeless, our sick, our elderly, the 500,000 family carers. So my last question is to everyone. Will you speak up for the voiceless people of Ireland? Yes! Good, me too. If we believe something is wrong, we should speak up. This hate speech bill wants to suppress our freedom. This is what communism and fascism is all about. It is complete dictatorship. Our corrupt doll lies makes lies sound true. Every decision they make is solely about money. They do not care about us. During the lockdown, they pretended they cared. They took control of our lives to keep Granny and Grandad safe. However, in the last 18 months, the government has allowed 20 nursing homes to close. They should be opening up 20 nursing homes. Yes. That's over 500 residents have lost their homes, 700 jobs, Irish and non-Irish, and the carers no longer get a respite now. And since 2017, 47 nursing homes have closed down. During the launch of this hate speech bill, the NGOs used the slogans, love, not hate. Cherish us all equally. The Dáil hates our carers, and they do not cherish our elderly. Why did the Dáil let so many nursing homes close? It's a simple reason. Arrogant. It's money. Last year, 11 active nursing homes were converted into accommodation by the government for 30 pieces of silver. They've sold their souls. Before the practice was banned last September, it got banned because it was elder abuse. Now they want to lift that ban, just like the eviction ban, that is making more people homeless. This shows the complete hypocrisy of our government. They hate our elderly, the people that worked all their lives for this country and paid taxes. We are all going to get old. This affects everyone in Ireland. In George Orwell's book, 1984, he warned us about totalitarianism. He said in his book, the moral to be drawn about this dangerous nightmare is a simple one. Don't let it happen. Yes. It depends on you. It depends on all of us. Yes. So the big question is, what can we actually do? Short term, and this is Paddy Houlihan's idea. He's an independent councillor from Tala. Yeah, Paddy. He said, send a letter or a postcard to President Michael D. Higgins and ask him, we deserve a debate on the hate speech bill. Medium term, we can take it to the Supreme Court. And in the long term, we vote these corrupt actors out of the Dáil. Yes. No more career politicians, but an EU global agenda. Yes. Get there now. Hell yeah. We need real people in the Dáil and in every county council that speak for all the people of Ireland, all age groups. We vote for people in with common sense, integrity, a backbone, and most importantly, vote in people who want freedom of speech. Ergaba!